Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative. And today we are playing. We're not really making anything of anything. We are going to play. I saw a video the other day by Clare's Crafty Corner, and I wanted to play with the idea that she had a little bit more. She had taken some silk screens and put them down onto a silicone piece that she was working on and used mica powder to put through the silk screen to leave a pattern on the silicone. And I was actually kind of blown away because I would never have thought of using a mica powder to put through a silk screen. I have some silk screens that are different than the 4 I've got here coming. And my understanding, and again, this is why we play, would be that you would use a paint or something along those lines through the silk screen to make a pattern on whatever it is you're doing. And when I saw what Clare was doing, I thought, wow, that's really cool. And I had to try it myself. I took a piece of silicone and I put one of my pieces on top of it, and I was amazed. I thought, this is so cool. And it got me to thinking that there's got to be other things that we can do. And that's sort of what we're doing. We are playing. Now, I have some scrap pieces. I've made this new mixed mold ornament, which we're going to use as an example of some of the playing that I've already done, but I want to show you. And sometimes we have pieces that they don't turn out the way we want them to. Some of those pieces that I make that don't turn out, I actually do. I toss them away. But there are other pieces that I think they'll come in handy down the road. And these pieces that I made and showed you in another video are such pieces, and I've got other pieces as well, that they lend themselves to playing with them. If I'm going to make something that's for a client or something that I want to be good at the end of the day when it's all completely done, I want to play first. I want to understand what I'm up against and how challenging something might be. And I'd rather play with a piece like this than on a really good piece. And today is a play day. That's all we're going to do. We're going to play. We're going to see what works. I already have an idea of some of what works because, yes, I have already done some playing, but now you get to see. Here's what we're going to do. I have a silicone mold, and we're going to do what Clare had done. Again, because I'm playing, this is the mold I'm going to use. It's not a good one. It's not level. There are so many things wrong, but it will work for what we're going to do. I have these silk screens, and they are from Craftsmart. I bought them at Michael's. As I say, I've got some others coming that are bigger than this that I bought them basically to use on some of the other projects I work on. But this is kind of cool, and this has gotten me thinking about how can I, as an artist, as a creative, use what Claire's come up with to make some pieces that are really cool. And again, like I say, my brain's been spinning on this one, and that's why we play. And it's other artists and other creatives who do this type of thing that you get to watch that hopefully will inspire you. What can you do with the idea, and how far can you take it? And that's what I love about what these and myself as far as creatives are doing to inspire others to come up with their own ideas. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work with this leaf one because I really like it. So what we're going to do is these come attached to, well, these ones specifically did have a piece of plastic to put them on. I had actually cut out a piece of plastic that's thicker than theirs for putting 2 on at a time, so I didn't have to try and peel them apart. When I first was taking them off, what I got from Craftsmart, they were a bit challenging, so that's why I've got a bigger piece that these are stuck onto now. As far as cleaning goes, you'll see the back of this. It's kind of messy. It's been through a bit. When I'm done with these, I take these and I just rinse them in cold water to get as much of whatever the product is on them off. I really don't know what the best way is to clean them, and I probably should do some research and watch some YouTube videos because that's what I do to learn. on how to clean these better. But for today's demonstration, we're fine with what we're doing. I'm going to use a 2-part epoxy in this to cover up once the silk screen is done. I have got an example that I want to show of UV resin, but I thought for this project and just for my own wanting to play, I'm going to use a 2-part epoxy on this. All I'm going to do is, again, we're playing. This does not have to be in here perfect. It doesn't have to be. For this example, for me, it doesn't have to be in here perfect. And we are going to take what, oh, I thought I would use the black. So I'm using the Eye Candy Sumi Black. Sumi. I'm not sure. Again, I love the names that they've assigned to their mica powder, but I have no idea if I'm saying what they are right or not. Okay, I'm going to move this white one off to the side. I really don't want to get, I kind of like that one to be decent when it's done. So we're just going to put some mica powder on the end of our brush, and then all Claire did, and all I've done on, you know, the playing that I've done till now, is she just rubbed it in. And oh, I can't say. Cool that it went through. And so I'm just going to do it. And I know when I've done the couple of little tests that I've done, I found that I needed to press. Now, again, these aren't the cleanest silk screens that I've got. And I want to find, I mean, I may not be cleaning these well enough. I've been running them underwater, so I may not be doing the best job possible cleaning. And I guess you could almost think, why are you doing the leaves black? Well, why not? Maybe they'll look good black. I do have a green out here, but I think my plan is to put white over top of this, so the black will work well. So we just do this. Now, with Claire, when she did hers, she found that some of the mica powder got in spots on her mold where she did not want it. And she had a suggestion of using a handheld vacuum, sort of like, I'll say a dust buster. I mean, that's what I kind of liken it to get off the excess mica powder so it doesn't get all over the place. And I don't have that. And if I were to use my hose on my vacuum, everything would get sucked up. It's that powerful of a vacuum. I wondered, and one of the things I tried was a wet wipe to clean up the excess mica powder. What that did, though, was it ended up getting the mica powder underneath the stencil wet, which isn't something I think you would want. Now, I'm just going to lift this a little bit, not much, because I just want you to be able to see what I've done. I want to get a little bit more on this, so I'm just going to push this down. It's, again, this isn't sticking as well as I would like it to, and obviously it's not fitting in the mold properly. And I was looking for something a little better shaped for this, and apparently I didn't really find. I didn't want anything too big because I knew we were going to be playing, and yeah. So we deal with what we deal with in this video. Okay. Now, as I said, Claire, she thought using her dust buster or something along those lines would work. As I said, mine would just suck this up into, you know, no man's land. I decided, well, what about if we used masking tape to pick up what is around, like that's sort of gotten onto the mold. Now, I'll be very careful because I don't want to leave this stuff. But even to get some of the excess off of here. Now, I may be, you know, if it were laying flat down, I'd have a better chance of doing this. Or maybe what I need to do is just do it like this. Like I'm just using the edge of this now versus a whole flat side, which might work out better for me. And I think if it were laying completely flat, I'd be even better off. So I just thought maybe tape would work, but you're going to have to play with that to see, okay, how best to get the excess mica powder off so it doesn't get all over the place. And maybe you don't care. I mean, that's the other thing. Maybe you want something that looks a little, you know, worn. That's totally cool too. So let's take this off very carefully. And I'll pull it up from one side and the other because that might help too. And then up. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Just going to lay that over there. I'll clean it up later. Now, I'll have a look at the go. My hand behind it kind of helps, I hope, for you to see the pattern on it. As I mentioned, I was just blown away that it actually worked as well as it did going through the silkscreen, because I thought, you're dealing with a powder. Yes, mica powder sticks to silicone, but I did not expect it to turn out. And it's fairly well detailed. Again, you know, if I were doing a really good project, I'd probably work at cleaning up some of this around the outside. But this is, again, we're playing. It's more to, how's this going to look? What would I do? What would I cover it up with? And go from there. So we're going to put this aside for right now. And then I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to mix up my resin. We'll come back. We'll pour that. But I want to show you a couple other things, and I wanted to do a couple of different ideas. This piece here, what I did was I took one of my ornament molds, and these are ones that I'm strictly right now using as play. I've got one over there that's kind of warped, so these are meant to play. If I want something small to do, I'll use one of these to play. I took, which one was it? I'm trying to think. The one that's got flowers. Okay, it's this one here. What I did was I took this, I stuck it inside, and then I used this mica powder, and I put some on the mold, and then I used UV resin to cover it up, because again, I want something quick. I wanted just to see whether or not the UV resin would work for me. As I found with 2-part epoxy, the UV resin was pulling up some of the mica powder once I had placed it down in. I took my UV resin, I mixed in some white pigment, and then all I did was I poured it over top of basically what you see here. I just took my UV resin, had the white pigment in it, and I poured it over top, and then I cured it. Now, did it cure as well as I would like it to? It's done okay. It's a little sticky. Again, you have to be really careful with what you put in UV resin, like how much of something you put in UV resin, because you need the light to get through it. And obviously, you could probably see maybe a little bit of the pattern through there, but I think I put too much white in. That's my error completely. Anyway, I just wanted to see how well it would pick it up. It did leave some of the mica powder behind. It didn't pick it all up. I expect, as you've probably found, if you've worked with 2-part epoxy and mica powder, that it'll pull it up really well. Like you're left maybe with a little bit, it does a much better job. But I wasn't disappointed, and I thought, okay, so I know that works, and I could use UV resin if I wanted to. So I just wanted to show you that little piece that I'd done. Carrying on, these obviously are great now because they're allowing me to play and do something. I took, obviously this was dry, and I did the same thing. I put one of the stencils down when the silk screen's down. So I took this one here and I just placed it on top. And then again, I took, no, it wasn't that mica powder. This is basically a no-name brand of mica powder. And I put through the silk screen. I was very curious because this is dry. Would it work? And it did. I was very careful. And the interesting thing was I was able to take a paintbrush. I didn't take the brush that I used, but I took my paintbrush, and any excess of the mica powder that was on here, I just brushed away. We're going to do an example so you can see. And then I just covered it up with UV resin. And I thought, okay, so this works on dry products, because I wasn't 100% sure and I wanted to know if it would. And it did. And then I cured that. So this is what playing does. This is what having leftover pieces allows you to do, because it's like, okay, here are the different things I want to try out. Here are the different pieces. Let's play. So put that off to the side. This I have not tried yet. This is a piece of cured resin. I made this a long time ago. If I'm not mistaken, this is a glow-in-the-dark piece. I had gotten, I think from Eye Candy Pigments, their glow-in-the-dark, and I was struggling. I was having a hard time getting the ratio correct so that things would glow in the dark. And then one night, I'd hung some stuff upstairs in my living room and I walked out and everything was just glowing, and I went, okay, this stuff really does work. But I have not tried this, taking a silk screen, putting this on and putting mica powder on top of it. And we're going to try that out and we're going to see what happens. I'm going to grab, because I think you might see it better. Hopefully. Is that better? Oh, that's so much better. We are going to take, and I'm trying to think. I was going to use the dark ocean green. I think I'm going to stick with the black just because. So we're going to take this and we're going to stick it on here. And this is another reason I like using pieces like this, because see, this is flat. This is a lot easier for me to stick this down. I'm going to take some of this black and we're going to brush this on, because I'm just curious to know if I try and do this on a cured resin piece, will it work? Or is it too smooth, too something or other that it won't stick to it? And I don't know. It might, and it might not. So we're going to try it out and see what happens. So I'm going to get that in there as best I can. I'm going to be a little heavy-handed with it. And I'm hoping it does. If it doesn't, I mean, it's, again, this is the only way you find out how this stuff will work. So this is going to be interesting because I don't know. Okay, I'm going to take my, not that piece of masking tape. Let's see, grab this one. And we'll just very carefully pick up some of that excess. Okay. Now let's see what happens when we peel this back. Okay. Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. Stick that over there. Hopefully I can get my, I know what I'm thinking, my UV light over here. Just my small, one of the small ones I've got. So here, see, I like it. Okay, so those little pieces, but down here, I don't know if you can see it. You might be able to see that I got some of it there. So I'm going to very carefully with my brush, I should be using my paintbrush, shouldn't I? I said use a paintbrush. And you could, on this, you could most definitely take a wet wipe and pull this excess stuff off. I just want to use the paintbrush. I use my paintbrush when I'm doing some of my card work to get excess dust and whatnot off, depending on what I'm using, especially if I'm embossing. Okay. So it worked. It may not be as neat as you'd like it, but it's there. So let's take now some UV resin and very carefully, again, you're going to find out whether or not, and I don't really want bubbles in this. I should have laid this down on the side. See what it does when it's put on top. Is it going to spread the mica powder around, or is it going to allow it just to sit there? We'll do both of them. And I was trying to be really careful when I was doing the one on the mix to mold. But my table it's flat, but unfortunately, my silicone mat under here's got a bubble in it now, which messes things. Okay, now that we've got that on there, and it's pretty decently on there, I'm just going to bring over my UV lamp. Again, this is not my Let's Resin. This is a small Jdiction one I have over in this table. And actually before that, everything's sticking over here now. Okay, I'm just going to go over this with my lighter, my long net lighter. Okay, and then I'm going to pull this back. Like I said, I got a bubble in there that's not really great. Okay, and we're just going to cure that up. I'm just going to do this for one go through so that you can see it and I don't have to tie up all your time. I'll just throw that out. So what are you getting up to today? When was the last time you took some of your old pieces and just randomly played with them? I think it's important. I think it's a great way to come up with some new ideas and just figure out what works. And knowing that something will work or won't work, it really will save you some time down the road. For me, every once in a while, I forget that I've tried something and then I try it again and see that it doesn't work. And other times it's right. I remember I did this. It worked okay. And I occasionally too, I make notes on what I've done so that I can reference back to it later on to see if something will work or if it doesn't work, right? And that's fair. Okay, so this should be, this isn't going to be great, and I've got an air bubble in that, but that's okay too. I'm finding that I really should be letting my UV resin sit for more than 5 seconds, but I'm trying to keep this within the realm of what I've done there. We can see now that you could do this on a completed resin piece if you wanted to. And for me, that's really exciting because I think of if I were doing some earrings that I can use this and now as a means of doing some decorating on it, because I hadn't thought mica powder. I really hadn't. So I really want to thank Clare for doing that test and coming up with that. So that works on there. So let's just put this off to the side then. So I showed you on this mix to mold. We are going to do the pink now so you can see that as well. We have now tried it on a resin piece and we know it will work. I don't think it's going to stick as nicely. I had wondered what could I put on the piece before I did the silkscreen, and I'm thinking, but I don't want the silkscreen sticking. If you have any ideas, please put them in the comments below if you think there's something that could be used to hold the mica powder even better on something that's smooth like this is. And the other cool thing will be, depending on how much resin UV you're putting in a spot, is I could wipe this down now and with either my finger or getting a wet wipe to wipe down the excess that's around it. So that's kind of a nice thing about this. What shall we do? What shall we do on this one? Well, this one is, where was I going? I was going to do the blue. I think I'm doing the green on here. So we'll just put this down. Make sure it's smooth. Yeah, these have been through the ring. I seriously have to figure out a really decent way of cleaning these. This is the Eye Candy Dark Ocean Green that I'm going to use on this one. And between different, like the different colors I use, I just wipe this on here. All right, let's get some of this dark ocean green. And this has got a really nice shine to it. I know most mica powders do. I find I really like the Eye Candy mica powders. So I'll just, again, we're just testing this. I don't need to do the whole thing. I just want to make sure that I get it in nice and dark for the area I'm doing it in. Okay. All right, let's take that off. And when you're playing like this, you don't have to do great big areas and pieces. You're just wanting to see what will work, what won't. Now, you noticed I haven't dusted this off at all, and I'm okay with that. I'm just going to lift it up. Not as great as I'd like it to be, but you know what? That's okay. All right, so what we'll do is we'll take, I should have had my lid on that. We'll just put this down. And I just let it smooth out to, as I say, it worked better on, well, when I shouldn't say it worked better. The other piece had specific, it was the flowers, and therefore it was easier to make the, I'm losing my lid. Okay, put that back on my UV. Okay. So we're just going to let that, I'm going to smooth that out just a little bit by rolling it around. Okay. Let me get my torch again because I did see an air bubble in that. Green may be blending in a little too well with the pink there. Hopefully you can see it well enough. I don't want to get too close to the camera because that can blur things out sometimes too. So let's take that and we'll just cure that for 60 seconds. And I think, you know what, as I'm going to wait, hopefully in the next couple of days, I'm going to get my new silkscreen. So I'd kind of like to do something that's going to completely cover this piece. So I'm going to save this. I was going to do something with it on camera, but I think I'm going to save that and do something nice. These pieces, as I say, they're play pieces. So I don't really mind that I am just doing random things on them. It's always hard. It's like, okay, I've got 30 seconds, 60 seconds. What am I going to talk about now? You almost want to say, talk amongst yourselves while this is going on. There we go. Okay. So these would need, I would obviously, and I would suggest to, I just wanted to get this cured very briefly so you could see what it looked like. But I think it's such a cool thing that it's not just the silicone you can do it on. You can also do it on this mixed mold. We can do it on a resin piece that's already fully cured. So that's really cool. I am going to mix up my 2-part epoxy for this. We will come back and pour it, and then it will have to sit for 24 hours, and then we will demold it and see how it looks. And I think what I'm going to end up doing, because I'm doing the 2-part epoxy, I'm going to say, I could do white or I could do gold. Let's do white. I think it'll show up a lot better. We'll be back. Now that we have our resin mixed, we're going to add some white pigment. While I was mixing this, I had kind of thought about gold, but I'm not really sure how well that would pick it up. And maybe in one of my other play times that I have, I may see if the black or the gold would cover it, not cover it up, but make it come through as clear as I would like it to. Yeah, that'll be a future play that I have. So we'll put some of this white pigment in. My resin is the 4-hour resin by Let's Resin. And so I just thought, well, let's see how quickly I can get this done. It'll probably be tomorrow before I demold this anyway, because it's a little cooler in my room and it's going to need some extra time to cure. I find that this time of year, as it's starting to get warmer outside, that my basement gets colder because the upstairs is so warm, the furnace doesn't come on near as much. So what ends up happening is it gets rather chilly down here in the basement, and it's nice and warm upstairs. I almost should have had my space upstairs and not down in the basement. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. I think I'll put a couple more drops of the white pigment in it because I know this resin can handle it. Yeah, sometimes it's a hit and miss with the UV, how much of something you can put, how much pigment you can put in, or even mica powder that you can put in it. Whereas with the regular, you got a lot more leeway when it comes to it, which is really helpful. Okay, I want to make sure that's decently, and I was thinking 10 mils would probably do what I need for this to give us a good enough idea of, you know, the process in and of itself, and so that I have something to refer back to in the future. Okay, I think that's mixed pretty decently. I think what I'm going to do before I pour it, I just want to bring this over here because then I'll see about lifting this up to the camera. Put a piece of blue under there because the black sort of is making it too dark. Okay, let's do this. Let's pour. And hopefully, I'm hoping I've got enough here. I know you can't see what I'm doing, can you? Because I'm blocking the way with my hand, no doubt. Yes, we'll just go that way for you. I did give this a warm water bath before I mixed it. And I don't do the bottles in the water. I take out what I want to use and then I warm it up, then I mix it. For whatever reason, I don't think it's a good idea to do the whole bottle all the time. For some reason, and I don't have anything to back this up, I just feel that if I'm going to do that it's going to do something to whatever's left in the container. So I only warm up what I'm actually using. And the other thing I'm going to do with this, because I don't want that running into the back area there, I'm just thinking what I can put under this. I'm just going to lift this up because I want my UV resin to stay in the bottom here. I don't need it to go up there. Now that might be a little too much of a lift up. And what I like, again, when you play, you can do things like this, right? Because this doesn't matter whether or not it's level. It just matters from being level to the perspective of being able to test this out. So I think that's a little too high. I think that's gone. It's coming down, pooling down here too much. So let's move that out a little bit. I'm trying to think what else I could use for that. So it just doesn't seem, actually here, this might work. I've got these scrapers and I'm not sure. So this is the Let's Resin, the Fast Cure that I've used as my resin. And I'll list that below. So let's take that out for a second. Put this stuff out. Now all of a sudden I'm moving everything out of my way. Yeah, I think it's still a bit too... Okay. This is where you get really really good at coming up with ideas is when you have something like this. And I had my 2 popsicle sticks, and now I don't know what the heck I did with them. There they are. Okay, let's just do one. Okay, that might be sufficient. Just to, I think it's going to cover enough of it. So I'll just turn that around like that, so you can see under. Okay, I'm going to see how far out this will spread. Maybe if I'm really lucky, it won't go much past where it is now, and it'll stay out of this portion up here, because like I say, all I'm doing is, you know, doing a test to see how this turns out. And you might notice a little bit here. Let me bring this a little closer to you. So you'll notice how up here some of the pigment is being pulled up into the white on the top, and that's okay. So we have to leave this now for it to cure, and once it's cured, we will come back and you'll get to see how it looks on the other side. And I think I got it white enough. I think I've got it enough that we're going to be able to see the results of this. Stay tuned. We are back. It is the next day. This has had the opportunity to set. I'm just going to take this out from underneath it because we don't need it. I managed to somewhat clean up. I haven't done a great job, and I think that's something that's probably going to, over time, the mica powder, it's going to mess these up maybe a little bit, and I don't have a really, I haven't figured out a proper way just yet to really get these clean, but that'll come in time. And if anybody has any suggestions on how it might be, maybe I need to wash these in soap and water. For right now, what I've been doing is just putting them in clear water. I haven't had any soap in it. Maybe that's something. If any of you who are watching this have worked with silk screens before and you know what the best way is to clean it, I would very much appreciate it if you'd put that in the comments below. That would be awesome. But again, I'm not really too concerned about these. The new ones I get, yes, I would like to keep them cleaner longer. We talked yesterday about being able to put the mica powder on pieces such as mixed mold. We talked about being able to do it on resin pieces that have already cured. And that's very cool. I wasn't sure. I thought because this was such a shiny piece, and when I say shiny, like smooth and had set, that might not work. If you're careful, I think it'll be really cool. And the other cool thing I think will be that if you mess it up, take a wet wipe, wipe it down, and start again. And you will know if you've worked with mica powder, it tends to go a very long way. I showed you the piece I had done using UV resin and the mica powder. Again, I think I have too much white in this, and so it's still a little tacky. It's cured a little bit more. Would I use UV resin? Probably not. I think it's better to use a 2-part epoxy, but that's up to you. And this was the first piece I had done that you didn't get to see that I worked on, where I had put the mica powder through one of the stencils, silk screens, and then covered it with UV resin. And I think that's very cool. I like the fact that we have played to see what will work. So here is this piece. Again, this is a mold that didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to, and these are the type of molds that I use when I want to play. All right. Okay. I'll get to that in a moment. You'll notice, perhaps, that there's still a bit of the mica powder up here, and the only reason for that is because the resin did not go up there. And here we are with the piece. Wiping my finger back and forth, nothing's coming off, which is brilliant. I mean, you wouldn't expect it to come off because the resin has picked it right up. It is not as clean as I would like it, but I think using tape on these silk screens is a cool idea. As I said, Claire had suggested using a handheld vacuum. Mine has way too much pressure. I don't have a handheld, and if I use my regular vacuum, it would do too much damage. I couldn't use it. So for me, using a piece of tape is probably the best way for me to do it. I love that we can do this. I think it's cool that we can do this. I love the fact that we've taken the time and we have played. That's what the benefit is of pieces that we made previously. These are available for me to do whatever I want to them. As much as, you know, they're not perfect. They didn't turn out. This was a play piece, wasn't it? We wanted to see just how dark, or what the color is of the Jdiction pigments that we put in the mixed mold. It's pieces like that I love to have because they allow me to play. I don't care if they turn out or not. I am not using them for anything else but to play. And I think that's important, that you have pieces like that instead of always having to make new pieces that you're intentionally messing up. I have pieces I'm not going to really use for anything else, so I don't care if I mess them up. And that's the beauty of it. Now, I've gotten this out just for a second. This is a wet wipe. And I just want to, okay, I'm wiping that. You'll notice it's messing up my mica powder. And therefore, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this. I would use something dry to see about getting the excess off if you have excess on your piece. We've tested that now. Okay. So this was a cool little project. This was a cool little play for me. And now I know what to expect, what I can use it on, and are there other applications? Well, you're going to have to play and find out. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank everyone who has subscribed. I want to thank everyone who's left me a comment. I like the comments. I like knowing that people are watching, that they're interacting with the video and making suggestions or saying they like something. The interaction's great. I'm learning. I have a long way to go with my videos, and I'm totally cool with that because every day I practice and I'm getting better at it. Ice-T on Instagram had said one day, basically, you gotta practice every day. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I hope you're doing. And as much as we're playing with art here, your creative endeavor in life may be cooking. It may be sewing. It may be gardening. And I'm going to say that look at this not as simply an art project. Look at it as a creative way for you to play in whatever it is you decide you're doing. Because you can play with gardening, you can play with sewing, you can play with cooking. There is so much that you can play with as far as honing in on your creative abilities and getting better at what you're doing. So it doesn't have to just be working with what I'm working with. It can be whatever you decide to work with. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it beneficial. If you've done any of this, please let me know. I'm really appreciative to Claire and the fact that I came across her video where she was using silk screens and the mica powder because it opened up a door for me. And now it is giving me an opportunity to do something new. Have a great day. Be creative. Enjoy what you do. Have fun with it. Don't get too serious, because when you get too serious, if you're anything like me, things go south sometimes because of that. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Take care. Bye for now.